Got it.
All right.
Got it.
Got it. Yeah.
Once again, yeah, welcome to the History of LA Ska one-on-one sessions. I'm your host, Junor Francis, alongside my good friend Eric Kohler. This series celebrates and aims to preserve and promote ska, rocksteady, and the vintage reggae scene in Southern California and beyond through insightful conversations with legends and modern-day talent, including those behind the scenes. We want to thank all the people who are working behind the scenes to make this possible and successful. So whether you listen to this podcast series or watch us on YouTube, a big thank you to everyone. On this episode, we welcome none other than guitarist, singer, songwriter, Roddy Radiation, Byers, formerly of The Specials, and now fronting his own Skabilly Rebels. Did I say that right, sir?
Skabilly Rebels. That's fine.
Indeed. Yeah, welcome, Roddy. Thank you, Junor.
Yes.
Roddy, it's an honor to be speaking.
Thank you, Junor.
Yes, man.
Indeed, yes. Junor, thank you for that. So, Roddy, first question from Junor and myself. So you're about to come over across the pond back to the United States to embark on a U.S. tour. Can you just share kind of what all that will entail?
Well, I've had a US band based in California since about 2012, sorry.
Oh, okay.
And I've been over and done shows with them several times, you know, and I thought I'd do it again, you know.
Right, yes. How extensive is this tour going to be?
Well, we did 3 shows last year, which was basically a promoter, Gonzo, a friend of mine in California, funk promoter, who asked me to come over and play his birthday party.
Nice.
So I did 3 shows, and that went great. So I thought I'd come over and do a longer tour this year.
Right. And I know one of the dates here in the Southern California will be Alex's Bar on December 2nd. And that's
played there I don't know, about 2012, 13, something like that, you know. Dave Wakeling turned up and nice. A few friends, so that was cool, you know.
Little reunion, right?
Right. I saw the Tijuana flyer because a friend of mine asked me to share it, which I did gladly.
Yeah.
The Tijuana flyer looks great. So this is your first time playing Tijuana?
Yeah, we played there 9 years ago, apparently. I thought it was less than that, you know. But time flies, you know.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
That is true.
Right. So what will the tour entail? Are you coming with by yourself and then you join?
No, I have I said to Eric, I've got a California band that backs me. Actually, the bass player's from France. The bass player's from Paris, France. The keyboard player, I think he's originally from Denmark or somewhere.
Wow.
Sax player's English, but he lives in California. And I think Zach, the rhythm guitarist, he's California born as well, you know. We're kind of a mixture, you know.
Right. No,
but they're all based here in Southern California.
The band are, yeah.
Right.
Nice. Well, that makes it convenient.
Well, it's cheaper that way, you know what I mean? To bring my UK band over would, you know, it wouldn't be practical.
Right. Of course. Right. Of course. Yeah. And Roddy, I've not had a chance. That's why I'm looking forward to the Alex's Bar show. I've not had a chance to see you in this project live, but I know from talking with people and from seeing online videos and listening to the music of the Skabilly Rebels that you and the band like really effortlessly blend ska and rockabilly and some other great sensibility.
It's a kind of a mixture. It's kind of rock and roll, but you know the Specials always mix things up. And I haven't really changed things that much.
Right.
There might be a touch more rock and roll in, but it's still ska, reggae based.
Yeah.
With that R&B, you know, like it's all from the same roots. You know, Fats Domino, and you know, like I was told like a lot of the Jamaican radio stations pick up the southern states, and they used to listen to a lot of country and western and early rock and roll and R&B's. And like, you know, Fats Domino was huge in Jamaica, apparently, you know. So I'm just carrying on from the
kind of full
roots,
kind of full,
you know,
full circle. Full circle, right?
Yeah, that's it. It's all connected, you know.
No, that's true. So
is there anything special about the Los Angeles area and Tijuana and San Diego, why you almost always, when you come to the States, play this area?
I usually base myself in California because that's where the band are based, you know. Right. It's just cheaper, you know. I can't afford to do a complete circuit of the States. I have done the East Coast and the Midwest with a band from Baltimore called Scotch Bonnets.
Oh yes,
they have backed me before, and I've done. You know, I've done that side of the country, but financially it works better if I use musicians on either one coast or the other coast, you know.
And really quality music.
Right, but that's pretty much how it is with the Jamaican legends. They, you know, come to Southern California, and we have some of the best backing bands here. And anywhere in the world.
The musicianship in California and America in general, it is, dare I say, far superior to some of the bands in the UK. You know,
all right,
but they seem a bit more rehearsed. You know, they don't take chances.
We definitely have some solid ones. Yeah. So when you perform in Southern California, what type of fans turnout is it? Is it mods, Rudies, greasers, skinheads?
Well, obviously it's Specials fans, mostly,
right?
And a few people are just interested in my strange crossover mix, you know. But you know, like I said before, I always played a kind of rock and roll, Duane Eddy, Chuck Berry, you know, like that kind of guitar playing in the Specials. So they're going to get what, you know, if they know the Specials and know me, they will get, you know. And I wrote some of the songs, you know, like Concrete Jungle, Hate a Rich Girl, which Amy Winehouse covered, Rat Race, Holiday Fortnight. I wrote some of the songs, and for the Mark II Specials in the 90s as well, I wrote 5 or 6 songs for that.
Yeah, we're gonna touch on some of those songs. So, how and when did you form the Skabilly Rebels?
About 20 years ago, apparently. I didn't think it was that long ago. You know, time flies, you know.
Right.
It was just a friend of mine said he'd get some guys together to back me. I'd like almost given up again, you know. I'd kind of like, I was doing occasional solo shows, and this friend of mine said he'd get some guys to back me. That fell through, so I got some punk mates to back me, you know, and that lasted for a couple of years, and then I got some better players in, you know. And the thing is, like, with playing the music I play, you need musicians of a certain quality, you know, like you can't just play one style of music. You got to be open to all kinds of genres, you know. So I've kind of picked up musicians along the way, lost a few and gained a few, you know.
Right. Nice. Well, we're really happy to hear that you're still going strong with coming out to Southern California this holiday season.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you touch basically on some of the people who influence you over the years, and if you could go into perhaps a little bit more detail about your youthful days growing up.
Musically, I started getting into music when I was about 13, you know, and I went from the Monkees to Jimi Hendrix, you know. And I got into all the hard rock stuff, you know, Cream and Led Zeppelin and all sorts of hard rock, you know. And then the glam rock, you know, like Bowie, T-Rex,
nice,
and all that kind of stuff, like Motley Hoople. And then, as you get older, you're open to all kinds of music,
Yeah.
And then the punk thing came along, and I got into that. So I was hanging out in London, so I got to meet the Clash in 1976. And the Sex Pistols, all them kind of bands,
Right.
And then from there, like I joined what became the Specials,
Right, which started as the Coventry Automatic.
They were kind of like a reggae punk band, There was a few like punk rock bands trying to play reggae, and we were one of them,
Right.
We had a couple of black guys in the band from Jamaica, which give us an added sort of attraction bonus because they knew the music,
Yeah.
So I kind of got into Bob Marley and dub, a lot of dub stuff, Roy and like the Mighty Diamonds and all those kind of bands. So I studied that, as much as I could,
Yeah.
And that became a part of my musical repertoire,
Of course.
So you missed the ska and rocksteady and early reggae era?
I didn't really get into I heard it, but at that particular time when ska and rocksteady was happening, I was about 13, 12, 13, maybe 14, and I was more into pop music and rock music,
Yeah,
I didn't quite get. I liked some of the songs, like obviously, like I listened to all kinds of music,
Right.
But at that particular time, it wasn't the stuff I was into. Like I say, it took until about 1976, and then I suddenly I'll be honest. It was Bob Marley. Bob Marley, and I heard Bob Marley's early stuff when that came out. It completely blew me away. And it made the stuff I was listening to sound like rubbish.
Right.
So much sort of like personal feel and soul. It was such a big thing.
Absolutely.
For me.
Yeah. So Roddy, touch on how the Coventry Automatics, right, which predated the Specials. How did that group start, and how did you meet the guys from the Specials, your bandmates?
Well, Coventry's a kind of it's a small city, and a lot of black musicians and white musicians played together. It wasn't a big deal. It wasn't that was just like what happened. We all lived in the same kind of areas, and we all kind of hung out together. So it became you didn't see the black people's music was always cooler, what I mean? So like the white guys gravitated to hanging out with the black guys, and a lot of us liked a bit of a smoke occasionally, and it was the parties were better and the music was better,
Right, interesting. So you went from Coventry Automatics to Specials. Take us back to the formation of the Specials.
It wasn't overnight,
Right, of course.
I joined in 1978. The band had been going under the name as the Automatics for about a year before. A friend of mine was singing lead vocal at the time. He got the sack, and they got Terry Hall in just before I joined,
Right.
And the drummer, Silverton, who's from Barbados, black guy, and he didn't want to play ska. He said it was all man's music, he was a heavy reggae player, he wanted to play heavy reggae. He didn't want to play ska. So he quit, and we got John Bradbury on drums. It was a friend of the keyboard player, band leader. We lived in the same house, It's a small sort of city,
Right.
And all the musicians knew each other, and like Joey Dammers, the band leader, just basically headhunted all the what he thought was the interesting musicians from other bands, myself included, to like form what became the Specials, you know.
And Horace was there from the start, as well as Linville.
And Linville, yeah.
And
Linville Golding, you know, Jamaican rhythm guitarist.
Yes. And Neville.
Neville came later. He was he used to roadie for the band, you know.
Right.
And he started doing a bit of sort of U-Roy toasting kind of stuff with the band, and we couldn't stop him, man. You know, he just he just jumped on stage and he was there, you know.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, what a time, right? So I mentioned off air, I showed you this poster, Roddy, the Pioneers. When Junor and I did that show a few weeks ago here in Southern California, your old bandmate and longtime friend Linville Golding was in town, so he made an appearance. He said he walked out on stage with Jackie and George Decker from the Pioneers, and he said if it wasn't for the Pioneers, there would be no Two-Tone or Specials. A, is that fairly accurate? And B, what other Jamaican legends that might have been around town in London?
Well, you know, yeah, I guess that's a valid, you know, comment. But like Prince Buster, Scatterlights, there's a whole list of bands which inspired the early Specials, you know.
Right.
I like I say, I hadn't heard a lot of early ska, but I in 1978 I went and bought every album from that period of time, you know, like to study it and try and work out, you know, what was going on, you know, because I was trying to fit my style of guitar playing into what became the Specials sound, you know.
Yeah. Any particular guitarists influence you the most?
Well, there's a long list, you know, a long list. Some of the early blues players, obviously, like, you know, oh God, Ernest Ranglin, you know, sort of
course, yeah, Ranglin.
You know, like his feels phenomenal, you know.
Yes, indeed.
And you know, I liked a lot of Jimmy Reed stuff, like early blues, you know.
Yeah.
Because a lot of Jimmy Reed's like Bright Lights, Big City. You can put a ska feel to that any day, man. You know.
Yeah, I love that one.
It's all related, you know. And like I say, like Bob Marley was a big thing, you know, like and Peter Tosh, you know. It's a long list,
right?
You know, like. But you know, I was into a lot of rock and roll as well, you know. So I'd kind of put like Dwayne Eddy riffs in like the Specials stuff, you know, like which they said at the time was incongruous, you know.
Wow.
Because they said it didn't fit, you know, like.
Well, you proved them wrong.
Or me playing like Chuck Berry licks in Monkey Man, you know, like. I suppose sacrilegious in a way, you know, like there's Toots and the Maytals, beautiful song, and I start doing Chuck Berry, Johnny Thunder's, you know, rock and roll guitar on top of it. But I didn't know I was being bad or being wrong. You know, I thought, well, what am I going to do on this? You know, like I'll try this out. This is where I'm coming from, and you know, it's funny. A lot of bands have covered Monkey Man since.
Oh, sure.
They always put that sort of Chuck Berry, Johnny Thunder's sort of guitar intro in, you know.
Thanks to you.
Which, you know, like I prefer the original myself. I think Toots's version is much better.
So Roddy, touching on a couple of the songs that you wrote and you mentioned, two of which we want to talk about, ironically. Different compositions, but are names of Bob Marley and the Wailers songs, Concrete Jungle and Rat Race.
But, no,
right?
That was another problem of mine, where Jerry Dammers used to sort of like almost sample bits of old ska and reggae. I just had a bad habit of picking song titles that have been used before, and I've done it ever since. You know, I did a song called Blue Angel recently. Well, not recently, but fairly recently. But I didn't know that Roy Orbison had a song called Blue Angel.
Oh, wow.
If you think of a good song title, you know, like, and I've apologized many times. Like I did an interview with a guy recently, and I said, look, I'm sorry, I stole, Concrete Jungle. Bob Marley's version is much better, and Rat Race as well. I mean, I didn't. It just sort of like it didn't occur to me that like it would even be taken as like an insult or whatever. I just thought like it's just a song title, like it's like band names. You don't think of an original band name has been used.
right.
So this music genre has been going on since the 1940s, 50s, and anything which is like got a good name has been used before, That's
pretty much.
why
That's
right.
But like saying that, like my songs are nothing like Bob's. I didn't sample nothing. I didn't try to try to sound like those versions, and my versions happen to have the same title. And I apologize sincerely.
Very powerful, and meaningful lyrics, though, for both.
Well, I just like my Coventry high school poetry, I suppose, put to like rock and roll riffs with a bit of ska thrown in. That's all they were, really.
Right. Yeah.
Take us back to Rico, the Lord of the Trombone. What was it like working alongside Brother Rico?
It was like having your grandfather on tour, He's a beautiful man. Yeah. I did a show with him not long before he died in Blackpool. We both guested with a ska cover band in Blackpool, and he bought me a whiskey, and he was beautiful, man. He was
very,
a lot
very
of fun. And sometimes we would like almost fight over who's going to carry his trombone for him, because he seemed so much older and wiser than we were, But right. I guess he's probably younger than I am now, at the time.
Right. So but, was there anything that you particularly might have learned from Rico?
He didn't mind me extemporizing. He didn't mind me sort of like going off and doing my own thing, which I thought was great, because like he could have quite easily turned around and said like, Roddy, stop your fuckery, but he didn't. He let me do my thing,
Yeah.
It was that kind of blues jazz, real, it was real, the real stuff. He gave us the kind of I don't know. We was a bunch of kids trying to play it, but he was the real deal. He was the real man.
Yeah,
the real musician.
How
he got most of his teaching from Dan Drummond.
Right.
What I like about him, having spent some time with him, is his discipline. He would practice round the clock. He said Dan Drummond did that.
We would sit in his hotel room, and he would like play. We'd sit around on the floor, and he'd sit in a chair, and he'd talk to us,
Wow.
And he'd get his Bible out, and he'd read the Bible to us, and he'd play. He'd have a flugelhorn sometimes, or his trombone, and he'd play music, and he'd pass a spliff to us. And we would all sit there like open mouthed, like it was like a prophet,
Right. Yeah.
And we would learn,
Yeah. No, very, very thankful. As Junior mentioned, we had a chance to get to know him and work with him some out here. So yeah, pretty amazing there, Enrico. Speaking of legends, Jamaican legends, if I'm not mistaken, when the Specials reunited early 90s, you were part of that, I believe. You all recorded with Desmond Decker.
Yeah. That's what kicked off the kicked off the 90s version of the band.
There were
three versions. The second version sometimes gets overlooked because we mostly played in the States, you know. Without, there was only four of us, you know, which was one more than there were before they finished, you know.
Right, yes,
but,
yes.
What happened, like, Roger Lomas, the producer who did the Selector and Bad Manners, he asked as many of the Specials as possible to back Desmond Dekker. It was basically sort of I don't know, a money-making thing, I suppose, to be honest, you know.
And it was a lot of. Who was part of that besides yourself?
It was me, Horace Panther, the bass player,
yes.
Limbell Golding, rhythm ska guitarist,
yep.
Neville Staples,
right? Okay,
and H. Bembridge, the Selectors drummer, and a couple of local young musicians. You know,
yes, right.
There's
so
a lot of fun.
Not Terry, not Jerry, not John Bradbury.
No,
got
no.
it. Yeah.
So we weren't taken seriously in the UK because to them it was like, you know, how can you go out using the name of the Specials when there's not Jerry there or Terry there, you know, which was fair comment, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But we did the album back in Desmond, and that was a lot of fun. You know, we were offered a tour of Japan, and we said, "Well, let's do it," you know, because I'd gone back to paint and decorating, which is my trade.
Oh, okay.
So, like, you know, it was kind of like, yeah, that's I want a bit more of this again, you know. So I've been playing in bar bands, you know, playing rock and roll and blues and stuff. So it was kind of like a chance to play big venues again, and we did a lot of work in the States and a couple of albums, you know.
And so how many?
So it seems as if after then you really missed music because you went back to rejoin the Specials in 2000, and I think you stayed with them until 2014, right?
I never stopped playing music, Junior, as you know. Like once it's in your soul, like. But I had a family to feed, so I had to go back to painting and decorating. You know, I was painting people's houses again. You know, and sometimes I'd be like papering some lady's kitchen, and she'd go and get all her friends round and say, like, guess who's decorated my kitchen? One of the Specials. I'd be embarrassed in my overalls, like, you know, trying to paint some ceiling, you know.
Wow. Yeah.
But that's music, you know. Like I read a thing where, like, the Rolling Stones went into Chess Studios and there was Muddy Waters painting the ceiling, you know. He helped them carry their guitars in. Yeah. And that's a musician. Rico used to do painting, decorating.
Wow.
If you're a musician, you don't always get paid well. Sometimes you got to go and do like an ordinary job just to pay the bills. You know.
True.
So at that time, you had 2 songs in the British chart, right?
I had one single.
Rat Race.
Yeah, Rat Race.
So that wasn't the royalty wasn't enough to make
I got number 6 in the charts, and you know, I got a bit of cash from that. Yeah,
right.
And I wrote "Hey Little Rich Girl," which Amy Winehouse covered, and I got paid quite well for that too. You know.
Yeah, another powerful one. But Roddy, going back real quick. So how long did the version of the Specials exist around the time that you were backing and recorded with Desmond? How long was that?
Well, it was just after we did 1994 to 1998.
Okay, yeah.
And so
then you rejoined again. So then you guys regroup with 2000, right? On or about 2000.
For the original band. Yeah, for the original band.
Right.
So you stayed for a while. So why did you leave in 2014?
Because, good question, yeah.
Yeah, I was saving that one for last.
2014. Because every time I've been involved with the Specials, it's always been hard work, you know.
Of course, yeah.
I mean, in terms of sort of the Specials are all very, very different individuals. Sadly, two have died recently. But we were never like the kind of bands from school or on the neighborhood block who got together because we liked the same music. Jerry Dammers headhunted like all what he thought was the best musicians in Coventry, which is a small city, and a small group of musicians. And he got us all together. We never were particularly good friends. We all had very, very different tastes in music, different lifestyles. So it's always been a struggle. It's like we all think we're playing in different bands. I thought I was in the Clash or some band like that. Limbo thought he was in a reggae band. Neville thought he was doing. Neville thought he was like Roy.
You're right.
Like Brad the drummer thought he was in a Motown Stax band. Horace thought he was playing in Little Feat or some funk band. Jerry thought he was playing in a jazz group.
Right.
Everyone had different.
That's fascinating. That's fascinating. Yeah, and the irony is, what probably
it shouldn't have worked. It shouldn't have worked.
Well, right, but also what made it challenging, probably from a dynamic standpoint, is also what made it, no pun intended, but very special, right? And sounding, and obviously such a huge legacy and impact. But yeah, I can see that, right? Wow, it's
a strange mixture that probably shouldn't have worked. I know some of the early reviews. I think it's Charles Shaw Murray or somebody from an English music paper said that I played incongruous guitar. And I had to look it up, so I didn't know what incongruous meant at the time, right? But it didn't fit, and like that was the whole Specials thing. It was like we were all didn't fit, but it all somehow worked together,
Yes.
And that's become the style.
Right.
But my thinking is that's why it should work.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. That's it. There's nothing new anymore. It's like jazz,
Right.
To play anything new, you got to play some bizarre or strange or weird mixture stuff,
Right.
And I never look at it like
that's all it is.
Everything. Right. So everything has been exhausted.
Yeah, well, I don't. It seems that way. I don't know. I'm not a musical genius. I just play what I can play and fit in with other musicians best I can.
Yeah. So the interesting thing too is if you talk about the impact and kind of legacy, if you will, of Specials and also just two-tone as a whole. But if it weren't for British ska and two-tone, right? And Junor and I have talked with many American ska and Southern California specific musicians. Most of them learned about Jamaican ska after they knew about two-tone.
Well, I think it's like when I was a kid. I liked the Rolling Stones. Then I found out about Chuck Berry, Jimmy Reed, and I learned where they got it from, where they stole it from. And that's basically the same as the Specials.
Yeah.
We were trying to show people like, look, this is what we're doing, but hey, check out the real stuff, where it comes from.
Right. Yes. And you all did an incredible job. So talk about, share a couple of fond memories, if you will, on both Terry Hall and John Bradbury, who we lost. Terry just last year and Brad a few years back.
That was shocking. It was very, very shocking. I'm very sorry to say it. We were never particularly great friends. As I said earlier, like we never hung out together. The Specials, unless we had to, we never actually hung out together. So Terry's punk band used to support my punk band in Coventry.
Oh wow!
And he was in a band called The Squad. And they'd go on and try to mess up all the amps and mics and make sure it was hard to follow them, which was the thing at the time. You know? John Bradbury, he worked in a local record shop, and I used to see him there, and one of the best drummers I've ever played with. But we never got on, which is I'm very sorry to say that. Like we're never close friends. Like I think that was probably the problem with the band. None of us were like blood brothers, like because we were thrown together. And as you know, like if you're doing long tours on tour buses and sharing rooms and hotels, and if you're not close to start with, it's very hard to carry on.
Oh, I mean, touring, yeah, is a grind. Absolutely. It's we hear that.
Well, that's the job, it's the job, and I find it hard. The older I get, the worse it gets, and I'm kind of worried about these dates in California coming up because it's a lot of traveling, and I get out the bus and like I can't straighten up. My back just kind of it kind of seizes up,
Yeah.
I still try to do like the knee drops and the high kicks and all the stuff I used to do when I was a kid, but not so often,
No, true. Junior, go ahead and take the next question.
Yeah. So what was I going to ask you again? Oh, what would you consider the Specials' greatest achievement?
When the Specials were starting to get successful, there was like a rise of the right wing in the UK. There was Nazis, Nazi parties. There was the National Front and the British Movement. And they used to come to our shows and trying to disrupt our shows, But I think at that particular time, there was a lot of youngsters, who adopted the skinhead fashion, which weren't sure about politics, And we were trying to give them a different viewpoint. We were trying to say, look, you shouldn't dislike, it was obvious, but like those Nazi parties were going around the gigs and going around the football games, recruiting those youngsters and telling them all these lies about black people and Asian people. And we were trying to give them an alternative. And that was the only thing, the best thing, like, doesn't make it all right. A song that Jerry Dammers wrote. That was the most important thing the Specials ever did.
Yeah,
we hopefully changed a generation or two. We gave them like an alternative politics, a bit more a left wing, I don't know, sort of
sensible
socialist, or like, I don't know how you put it, like in that kind of terms, but like it was trying to say, look, just because he's black, because you're white, doesn't mean you have to hate him.
Right.
Doesn't mean you have to fight. And that's the lyrics, that's what we sang. I still do that song today because I believe it.
Yeah. No, that's a powerful song for sure. Yeah.
Now, as you mentioned songs, I remember I had a disdain for two-tone music until I heard Free Nelson Mandela. That really changed my perspective. That was,
sadly, I wasn't involved in that one, but, when music can actually cross over into politics and make a difference, that is wonderful. That is, that is brilliant.
Indeed, true.
And it's a shame there's not more young bands doing something similar today.
Right.
But I don't think the music business wants anybody to think about music. They want people just to be dressed up and dance and buy the records. They don't want.
So how you guys were able to make that song, I guess, penetrate the inner chambers of the upper echelons, get into radio, television, Free Mandela? How that happened?
at that particular time in the 80s, there was quite a lot of socialist kind of people involved in the music. It was like there was the rock against racism. That was a big movement in the UK, doing festivals and shows.
Right.
And a lot of bands backed that, and a lot of it was because of the fascists on the rise again.
Yes.
So that was kind of like we all stood together against them, you know.
Right.
Yes.
You know,
it was kind of a trend because you have people like Linton Kwesi Johnson, The Clash.
Yeah, we did shows with Linton,
Police doing some real progressive music.
Yeah.
I remember a funny story. I know we're talking serious now, but I remember Neville. We did a show with Linton. Linton was on first, and he was doing his Rasta poetry and, you know, all the cool stuff, you know. Neville Staple, you know, our black vocalist, he said, "Roddy, man, go and ask Linton if you have any cigarette papers, you know, like skins as we call them in the UK." So I go, "Oh yeah, okay, all right." So I walked into Linton Kwesi Johnson's sort of dressing room, and Linton's there with a couple of very, very heavy Rasta guys, and they're reasoning and they're discussing the world's problems. And I walk in my punk rock gear, you know, leather jacket, and go like, "Excuse me, Linton, have you got any cigarette papers, please?" They looked at me and just carried on talking. I didn't exist. You know? I went back and I thought, "Neville, you swine, you did that on purpose." Because I was too stupid to realise you don't go and ask like a man of that standing if he's got a few cigarette papers to roll a split, you know.
That is amazing.
But I was just stupid, you know.
Yeah.
So I went in there and asked.
That's funny. That's funny. So
and you know, he's really well respected, if I'm not mistaken. He was honored by the Queen, one of the greatest poets alive today, Linton.
Wow.
Yeah, he was a very clever man.
Indeed.
Still is, you know, like,
yeah. Right.
You know,
Roddy, I was going to ask, so the Clash, Specials toured with the Clash. Well,
probably one of the best times of my life, actually.
Yeah, sure.
Being a punk rocker at the time,
sure.
it was like great seeing the Clash every night.
Right. You know, so around what year was that?
1978.
Okay, and then share a couple of memories.
Sorry?
So can you share just a couple of memories on what?
Well, we didn't eat much. We didn't have no hotels. We slept in the van. We got paid about £25 a night, which barely covered the fuel.
Wow.
And we got spat at most nights.
By fans or by the Clash?
No, the Clash were great to us. They found out we were on £25. They got it up to 50 or whatever it was. Right. I forget now.
Nice.
And they were very good to us. They were very friendly, and they kind of showed us the way. You know, Joe and the boys were kind of. They didn't treat us like we were dogs' bodies, you know.
Right.
Mm.
And where
I say it was their full on show. You know, it just blew us away. So we kind of like borrowed a few things. I borrowed a few movements from the Mick Jones and Paul. Nice. And in fact, I used to sometimes go through the three of their poses like in the same song. Sometimes I did because I'd never played like on big stages before that. So we played like little bars and that. So on a big stage, like what do I do? You know. And I know they'd kind of stolen a few moves off Pete Townsend and The Who and that.
Sure.
So I kind of like borrowed a few moves off them, just something to do. I don't want to. How do you move on a big stage? You know.
was that a stadium tour?
Sorry.
Was that a stadium tour?
No, it was kind of like large dance halls.
Okay.
You know.
Okay. All right. Got it. Right.
About 2,000 seaters, maybe at the most. You know.
And where
the old UK dance halls. Great. They were like sort of wooden dance floors with
that's right.
balcony.
Yeah.
And like, great venues. I loved them,
Yeah, I forgot what the time period, right? 78. Yeah. So touch on so a really monumental moment here in the US. One of the key moments for American television is when the Specials played Saturday Night Live in the early.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure you've been asked about this, right?
Yeah, that was probably the high point of my career, I suppose.
So what was that experience like?
Well, we were we could probably play blind, drunk, and crazy at the time, and we probably were blind, drunk, and crazy. Well, some of us were anyway. Well, right. Keith Richards turned up, and wow. he tried to help us get inspired, as they say. we'd already not all the band were drinkers or smokers or whatever, right. But some of us were, and like if you see that, we were all pretty wired, It was just, I remember when we did like the run through, the stage manager said, where's this exciting band? Because we all sat on stools because we couldn't be bothered to sort of, because we've been around, we've been doing stuff for a while, and we thought, like, we had that punk attitude still. It was still kind of like, fuck you, in a way, So, and if you see that, you can see it. We and Jerry Dammers, our leader, said, like, we can say anything we want. This is live. We're all going, oh dear, Jerry. You sure? we were like this. They might put us in jail. But we did our kind of like punk ska show, and I was pretty drunk. I must admit, and some of us had chemicals off Keith, and
sure.
And we ended up going to a bar afterwards, which there's the people from Saturday Night Live, because we haven't seen that in the UK. Oh. So I didn't know all those people. So we didn't know who all these famous people were.
All these,
like John Belushi and all them guys.
Right.
We went back to this bar they owned, and I got out there at 6:30 the next morning. And I remember like trying to go in the toilets, because I needed to go. And there's people just taking drugs everywhere. It was
that time. It was
period, the 1980s. Like everybody was doing shit. I don't approve of it, and I don't like doing it. I've always been, a few beers, maybe the smoke. That was most of us.
Right.
But at that point in time, it was everybody was doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And you can see, I was completely off my head, really. I'm angry, angry and sort of posing like crazy. I thought I was Johnny Thunders or somebody. I don't know.
so that anger is a holdover from your days as a punk rocker.
Yeah, me and Terry were kind of from punk bands, whereas the rest of the guys were like from different kinds of bands, jazz, reggae, and.
No, I'm saying the anger was a holdover.
Sorry?
The anger was a holdover from your youthful days.
Yeah, well, it was a lot of that kind of anger. Yeah, it was kind of like this is us.
Anti-establishment.
I don't care how many million people are watching us. We're going to do our bit. We're from Coventry, England, and we're going to make a noise.
Got it, right.
It was, in a way, it was kind of, like silly or stupid, to think it. But we really didn't care. Our leader didn't particularly like America. He when on our first tour, like the LA Times asked him what he thought of America so far on our first tour. He said he had more fun on a school trip to Russia. Which was hardly gonna help things, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Then we did like several shows at the Whiskey A Go Go in LA at the end of the tour, you know.
Yeah.
And the record company guys and Chris's came in to have a photograph taken with us, and we were tired, you know, very, very tired. And they wanted us to put our suits back on and stand with them, you know, to have a photo. And our leader said, "Fuck off." So we all joined in. Fuck off. And then they stopped pushing the record, you know. Oh, yeah. So that's the reason why the Specials never conquered America, or never did well in that financial way, you know.
Yeah.
We had that kind of punk rock, Sex Pistols, Clash attitude, you know.
Right.
If we'd have shook hands and been more friendly, maybe I'd be a multi-millionaire now. I don't know. I'd probably be dead. Right. If I had that kind of money, it'd have probably gone to my head and I'd be dead by now. You know?
Understood. Yeah. Well,
I was probably better off going back to painting and decorating and like getting real again, you know?
Yeah.
Instead of being a mega star, you
know. Roddy, what was your relationship with some of the other two-tone groups at the time, like you know, Pauline and the Selector or Madness or Bad Manners or
well, like the Selector were like also from Coventry, so we all knew each other, and you know, like, so we were kind of friends and we toured together. Madness were from London, so there was a slight gap between us because, you know, it's like I don't know, New York and LA or something, you know, like not quite, but they were different to us and younger as well. We got on well with the Beats, you know, like the English Beat, as you call them, like they were good friends, you know. And we all kind of pulled together, you know, in a way, because we all had similar kind of tastes in music, and we were all kind of anti-Margaret Thatcher and the Conservative governments at the time.
Right.
That was a big thing. Politics was quite important in them days, you know.
Right. True. So speaking of which, did the Specials? Did you do any work with some of the UK reggae acts like Steel Pulse or any of those other acts?
Obviously. Yeah, we supported Steel Pulse. I remember one we did in Birmingham near Coventry.
Nice.
And obviously the Rastas and Steel Pulse's crowd just thought we were crap. Which is not surprising. The Specials never really, you know, because the heavy reggae crowd and the Rastafarians and that sort of, you know, they weren't particularly into the two-tone thing. There may be a few of the guys that thought it was all right, but you know, we're just a bunch of young kids. I remember sort of Linbell and Neville, the two black guys in the band. Their friends would say, "Hey, why are you playing with them white punky boys for? You know, why are you playing that rubbish?" You know? True.
Oh, that's great. Though.
Yes,
sir. It was a treat, though. Let me tell you, I really enjoyed. So when you all played Coachella festival out here,
that was nice. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
that must have been like 2012, 13, whatever that was. But yeah, that was
about that. Yeah,
really enjoyed that, and obviously we're looking forward to seeing you with your gig.
Yeah, that was a good gig. I enjoyed that.
Yeah,
a lot of fun. You know,
that was on a big stage with a big crowd. So, Roddy, we were talking off here. So you live in Coventry right now, right?
Yeah. A long time. Well, I've always I lived in London for a short while.
Okay,
but I've moved back to where I grew up. You know, it's kind of.
Why is that so?
It's not country, but like I grew up in a coal mining village just outside of Coventry. You know, the mine's gone now, and they closed it down. But you know, I like to go back to my roots, I suppose. You know?
Yeah.
It might sound a bit of a cliche, but you know, I walked the dog round the fields where I walked when I was a teen or a child. You know?
Yeah,
and that's important to me. You know,
right.
I don't particularly want to hang out in the flash clubs in London. I don't. It's never been my thing. You know.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So in Coventry is the Two-Tone Museum that opened not too long ago.
Yeah, I go down there about once a month. Yeah.
Can you just touch on that, on what you like most about that and what people can expect from that museum?
Well, the people that work there, they don't get paid. They do it for charity. It's all, and you know they've had, you know, they got old photographs of, and not just two-tone, just going back to, you know, very early music in Coventry, you know, and they're very nice people, and they've got the original Ghost Town car in there as well.
Oh, right, I did see that.
Oh, nice. You can sit in there and have a photograph taken. They got a small venue there with their bands on most weekends. A nice Jamaican restaurant. Just good.
I heard about that.
I'll go there a couple of times. Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, I heard from a friend.
And they got a nice cafe and a couple of shops where you can buy all the clothes, books, and pictures, and you know, so they're very nice people, and they don't get paid for doing it.
Right.
A lot of people who work in the museum, they do it because they love the music or whatever, you know.
Right.
It's a nice little area.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely on my list for my next trip.
Roddy, it's a benefit of huge importance to have you on the show. What's in store? What's on your horizon for 2024?
Well, good. I don't know. Not really. I've got a few shows coming. I thought about doing a ska country album.
Oh, yeah.
Thought I might, you know, cover some old country songs and do them in my style.
That would be nice.
You know, so I'm running out of new songs, I guess. You know, that's what I might do. I'll see how I feel. Like, my health hasn't been great recently. I'm 68 now, and it's starting to hurt a bit. You know, so I'll see how it goes. You know, that's it. You can't say what's going to happen. You know?
Right.
So would you use some of the LA musicians in addition to, of course, obviously England musicians?
Well, I've recorded with me and Linval from the Specials did an EP with the California musicians.
Oh, nice.
That went okay. Yeah, that was quite nice.
Right.
4 tracks, you know. But
yeah, I recommend the musicians from here.
Yeah, I did this track. What was it called? But anyway, what happened? Like I was kind of late arriving at the rehearsal, and Linval got there before me.
Mm-hmm.
Before I got there, Linval completely changed the song. It was rocksteady. It went from being like a power pop punk song to like being rocksteady. I'm like, okay, here we go.
Whatever. Right? And when was that? What year?
I don't know. I'm just not. 4 years ago.
Okay.
Not recent, you know.
Yeah.
So it's pre-pandemic.
Yeah, it was kind of like just before it must have been 2012, I think, maybe, or 13.
Oh, okay. So a little further back. Yeah. But you do have you have recordings.
Well, Linval Golding, the Special Ska guitarist, did the tour California with us, or most of the tour anyway. I did tell him it was going to be roughing it a bit, and then like he dropped out before we did Vegas. So I think he just thought like, I want a hotel, and not sleeping on someone's sofa or couch.
Of course, yeah, right. But you do have recordings with the Skabilly Rebels, right?
Yeah. I've got like I say, I got two EPs and a CD album, you know. And I've got the Ska, my anthology as well, which is which is just stuff I've done over the years since 1981.
Oh, very cool.
You know, like it's a lot of demos, a lot of it. You know, some of it. You know, in retrospect, I'd like to re-record it all again, but like, you know, it's kind of it's a bit raw in places, but you know, it's you know, when I'm dead, it'd be worth something. Maybe I don't know.
Don't leave us anytime soon, Roddy.
Right,
no, not yet.
So
yeah, not today.
Right. We're recording this just in advance of your performances in Southern California and TJ.
Yes. What
can fans who have never really seen you before expect,
Rod? I don't know. I just if they're Specials fans and they know the songs I wrote with the Specials, and they've watched the videos, they're gonna get sort of obviously a bit more towards where I'm coming from, which is probably you know the Clash, Specials come with a bit of the Stray Cats thrown in, I suppose. You know, like,
there you go.
It's that kind of rock and roll, ska, reggae. You know, like it's a mixture. You know, like it's my thing. You know.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I love that description, and we're really looking forward to seeing you here in the Southland. And Roddy, thank you for everything, all your
thank you very much.
Yeah, all your contributions to the Specials, which obviously had a huge impact on the world and on me personally as well. And it's been an honor.
Yeah, it's strange. I've been, you know, around not all the world, but most of the world. But you can go into like bars in Czechoslovakia, and there's our music on there, and like there's bands in Japan doing my songs, you know,
right.
And in Australia,
I was gonna say those songs that you laugh at, they've become landmark anthems now.
And it's kind of crazy, like it's our music touch people all over the world.
Indeed,
you know, and what else? Isn't that brilliant? You know.
Yeah,
of course.
So true. Well, we will make sure to say hi when we see you in person, out here, and safe travels getting across the pond. And yes,
I hate flying.
Yes, sir. And thanks to everyone.
Makes my arms tired. You know what I mean?
Yes, man. Thanks to everyone for the ongoing support, and please subscribe to this podcast series on our YouTube channel, and follow us at History of LA Ska on Instagram, and join our Facebook.
Thanks so much, Junior.
Yeah,
thanks for your questions. Your questions were like the ones that made me think the most.
There we go. Yes, thank you. And
yes, I'm looking forward to see you, man.
Please.
So, are you going to Mexico City proper and Latin America, or just
Tijuana, just over the border? You know, we're just going over hit one show and come back.
Maybe next year. Junior has good connections to Mexico City.
You know, like I've been asked before. You know, I did Argentina a few years ago, and that was a first. You know, me and my drummer went, and we had like a local band backers, and that was great fun. You know, but you know, it's a long way to go.
I agree.
Of course, right.
You know?
Yeah.
So next time with proper planning, you do TJ, then you fly down to Mexico City. They must see you before you return.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. I wish they had something like in Star Trek, where they just beam you someplace, you know.
I know.
I wouldn't have to go through the customs and carry my case and all that stuff, you know.
Yes.
Well, be safe, and please, Junior, thank you so much. Let's encourage listeners to follow at Junor Francis, and this series is
produced by Rockery Radio and Rockery_.
Cheers, Junior.
All right.
Yes, man.
Have a great day, guys.
Yes.
All right.
Please get out and support live music, everyone. Thanks for all the support.
Yeah, I'm going to bed now anyway.
All right. Thank you, Roddy. Thanks, Junior.
Cheers, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.